minutes, and I'll have up to 10 minutes. Then Ari Teresa, he can basically take 10 minutes. If he needs long to sum everything up, that's fine. Now, but before he speaks, come on, Stuart and I, we can kind of bounce off each other before we go to the public. And before, if we have some rebuttals to say, we'll do that before Ari Teresa speaks. That sounds good. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Ron, you got the clock, the time?
Yes, ma'am. We're
Okay,
good.
so Kimon, you're up, and Kimon is with We Act Radio. He's been around for quite a while, and he is for the Initiative 83. And he's going to tell us why. Thanks, Kimon.
Thank you for having me. And I'm so glad to hear that two of my favorite people, Miss Sandra Seegers and Philip Pennell, are still good friends in real life. And we're not going to have any problems at the Waffle House. All right. Thank y'all for convening this, because this is a necessary conversation. This is the way community is supposed to work. We're supposed to have dialogue with each other and wrestle with the issues, the pros and cons of things. And the fact is that I wish that this bill, I want to say this on the outset, that I'm not here to speak on behalf of the official campaign. I'm not a paid endorser of the campaign. I'm here to speak as co-founder of We Act Radio and also DC Statehood Green Party candidate for DC delegate in the general election. Having said that, I do wish that Initiative 83 did not pair two separate issues together. There's two separate issues that we need to make sure that we understand. There's ranked choice voting, and then there's open primary. They're not the same thing. But because we're living under the dictates of capitalism, they join two together to try to get a 2-for-1. Because as you can imagine, ballot initiatives are very expensive and very costly, and it goes a lot work goes into it. So they are looking for a 2-for-1 here. I want to say openly that I wish that was not the case, because it just complicates the issue. So I want to start off by talking about ranked choice voting. Now, in regards to ranked choice voting, we've seen in just this last primary where you had, so many people running for Ward 7. It was like Wu-Tang Clan was running for Ward 7. And no disrespect to the brother, what's our brother name? I'm sorry, I'm going blank. That won in Ward
Wendell
7.
Felder.
Yes.
Wendell Felder?
Yes. No disrespect to that young brother, but he won with less than 25% of the vote. That means 75% of the people that did vote in Ward 7 chose someone else. So that is the form of electoral politics that we have right now. Now, I don't know what you guys think, but I think that's not representative democracy, where someone who wins 25% or less than 25% is supposed to represent 100% of the electorate. What ranked choice does is that it offers the voter to choose three of their top favorites. You have your 1, 2, and 3. So no one can possibly win without getting a minimum of 51%. That's majority. If this is democracy with majority rules, 51%. And I think it's apropos for DC, because 51 is where we're trying to get to, right? So if 51% is the minimum that it would, for someone to be victorious in a ranked choice voting system, I think that's superior to what we have now. For example, in the last mayoral race, more people voted against Muriel Bowser than voted for her, okay? So there's more people that voted against our current mayor that actually voted for her. But when you have multiple people running, that divides that opposition vote. So you cannot divide the majority opposition vote and unseat incumbents, even when they're unpopular like our mayor is. So if we had ranked choice voting, either Robert White or Trayon White would have won that election, depending on who got the most. And I think it would have been Robert White. So theoretically, somebody would have said, well, Robert's my first, somebody that's voting against Muriel, that is. Robert would have been my first choice, Trayon would have been my second choice, Muriel would have been my third choice. Then 51% threshold was all it was took, and Robert would have won that election. We would have a different mayor right now. This is primarily why the establishment doesn't care for this at all. It unseats unpopular candidates. When we keep hearing, oh, you're a spoiler, like I myself am representing the DC Statehood Green Party. On a national level, they are always accusing the Green Party of being a spoiler, stealing votes, as if your vote belongs to somebody. That's the thing that we have a problem with these two major political parties, as if we, in a supposed democracy, our votes belong to either one of them. There's no room for an independent. There's no room for a third party. There's no room for any other choices. Ranked choice voting gives you more choices. I worked for Ralph Nader in 2004, and I voted for him in 2000. And if there was ever an election that was stolen, that was 2000. And what happened for boys and girls who are too young to remember what happened in 2000? The Electoral College stole that vote. Popular vote doesn't decide the winner in the presidential race. Electoral College does. That's why you can have someone win the majority vote and still lose the election to the Electoral College. So George Bush was challenging Al Gore. Al Gore won more votes, but the Electoral College was decided on Florida, and Florida had the governor. George Bush's brother was the governor, and there was all kinds of voter suppression that was going on in Florida. And then the Supreme Court ruled and gave it to George Bush, and Al Gore didn't even fight it. Now, none of that is what people remember. They always say, oh, because Ralph Nader ran, and he got more, the amount of votes he got was superior to the amount of votes that decided the popular vote. That is because of the third party that spoiled the election, which I just explained to you, that was not the case. But ranked choice voting eliminates that concept of being a spoiler, because I could rank my first choice, my second choice, and third choice. And when you rank your first, then if they don't get 51%, then they go to your second choice until we get that person that has the majority of the votes. This is about having more people supporting the said candidate so that we don't have a situation where an unpopular candidate is still in office. So that's the ranked choice portion. And it's in effect in several cities, New York, Massachusetts, Minneapolis, Alaska. In fact, and one of the things that people have been accusing ranked choice of is that somehow it's going to weaponize against Black people and empower GOP political candidates. Well, in Alaska, the GOP is trying to get rid of ranked choice voting. And you'll see that the main people locally behind the voter initiative against the initiatives, rather, is also a Republican. In fact, let me read something to you guys. This is from Paul Weyrich. He's the co-founder of the Heritage Foundation. He goes on to say that we don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections, quite candidly, goes up as the voting populace goes down. That's Paul Weyrich, the Heritage Foundation. That is the people that's behind Project 2025. So you just heard that the same people who behind Heritage Foundation, Project 2025 is also funding the vote no on 83. Not for it, they vote no, okay? Because they understand, like, when we have now pivoting to the open primaries, we already have open primaries. The general election is an open primary. Everyone can vote. Anyone who's registered to vote can vote for the candidate of their choice. It's just the closed primaries, the Democratic, Republican, or whatever, the closed primaries, you have to declare who you are. And in DC, the fact is, this is a majority Democratic town. So if I'm not a registered Democrat, I don't get to have any say in the selection of the chosen candidates to run. I get to choose between the candidates in the general election, but I don't get to have any say in the selection of the candidates. That's the only difference. And just like Paul Weyrich said, more people vote in the general election than vote in the primary, primarily because of this reason. So we're just saying, open the primaries so that anyone who is registered to vote can vote to choose which candidates are going to be selected in the general election. That is all it's saying. We already have open primaries, but we're saying open up the closed primary so we can choose which candidates. That was two separate issues. I hope we can rest with them separately. But the fact is, there's no nefarious hand in any of this. We can discuss and debate it some more, but I want to acknowledge that in reading Will Smith's book, which explains a lot, I came across a notion that he explained that when we are arguing, we sometimes have been led to believe that someone's right and someone's wrong. But in reality, sometimes both of you are right or both of you can be wrong. And I think in this situation, I think most of the people that are on this call are both right. We are right to be suspicious of anything that comes in to try to address the current situation. But we also acknowledge that the current situation isn't working for everybody. And so I hope that we're going to wrestle with this and come to the conclusion that it's actually something that could be beneficial. Now, the other thing that I think is a popular question, I hope I get to respond to some questions, but I'm trying to be proactive. But one of the popular things that I've heard is that this is confusing and people won't understand it and what have you. I think that's very condescending. One, because it sounds like you're calling everybody stupid, and not all of us are. And then secondly, we all have to commit to learn. I don't think ranked choice voting is any more complicated than programming your television set. Okay. So that's my time. I believe that's my time. I think I just got the signal. But the main things to walk away with is that ranked choice voting empowers more voters, it eliminates unpopular candidates from staying in office, it gives more choice, and the open primaries gets an opportunity for all voters to participate in the political process. So either we agree with Paul Weyrich from the Heritage Foundation and want less people to vote, or we're going to be progressive and acknowledge that we need to have as many people vote and participate as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I think the clock kind of went backwards. It should have been 10 minutes, but 5 is good because then the rebuttal time we can make up for that.
No. It was 10. I just put it up at the 5-minute mark.
Oh, 5 and 5. Okay, got you. Okay. God, we didn't see it until 5. Okay, you're good.
But yeah.
All right, Stuart Anderson, you're up. Tell them who you are with the Democratic State Committee.
So good afternoon, everybody. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. Thank you for joining, and definitely thank you guys for reaching out to me and asking me to be a part of this very important conversation. I serve in a number of capacities with the DC Democratic Party. I'm a member of the DC Democratic State Committee. I serve in 2 capacities for Ward 8. I am the committee man for Ward 8, elected by the residents, and I am also a party leader, elected by the members of the DC Democratic Party. I also have had the pleasure of serving as the party leader at the most recent national convention. Ward 8, I'm a native Washingtonian. I've been living in Ward 8 for the last 12 years. And one of the things that Kimon, again, thanks Kimon for opening us up like you have. I have great respect for the angry Black man in recovery.
It's therapy, good. Brother, therapy.
Therapy, okay, therapy. I am the first to always kind of, state the case whenever I might be, out of sorts. So I want to say that some of what Kimon shared with us is right on point, and some of it isn't. He mentioned the Heritage Foundation. I'll talk about that a little later on. One of the things I want to do is I want to dive right in to this ranked choice voting piece. But because the ranked choice voting piece is going to take more time, I want to tell you about open primaries, because Brother Kimon didn't talk about open primaries as much as he did about the ranked choice voting, and I understand that. So open primaries, right, is to open up the party organizations to non-party members. You know, Ron talked about earlier the snippet from the article that talked about the different Democratic parties becoming like a frat or sorority type of some sort of thing. Well, this party system is not it's not exclusive of other individuals. So the independents could very well have, host, and create a primary to select which independent the independents in the city would like to push. But that's not something that they want to do. They choose not to. The Green Party has done that. The Green Party, has had their own primaries to decide what individual the Green Party is going to get behind. They've done that in the past. Maybe not as well as the dominant parties, but there are a number of other parties. I spoke at a forum maybe a month or so ago, a little more than a month ago. There are actually a whole bunch of different types of parties that function in this country. And I think that it is out of the preview of any one group to try to infiltrate and wiggle its way into the political process by having a voice in the Republican or the Democratic Party. One of the things Kimon talked about in that Heritage Foundation was talking about what the Heritage Foundation was saying and doing in Alaska, right? So Alaska is one of those states that, they elect Republicans. So it's a Republican enclave, like DC is a Democratic enclave. Most people who live there are Republicans. Most people who live here who are active in the political process happen to be Democrats here. And the same is there. And so what the Heritage Foundation might be doing there is not exactly what the foundation is doing in the District of Columbia. And to the best of my knowledge, I will state, as Kamon did, I'm not on anybody's payroll. I'm not being paid to take one side or the other. I'm just talking from the standpoint of the DC Democratic Committee. We took a vote. There are approximately 90 something of us who are elected officials, first and foremost, from the city. People, the residents, they elect us, right? And then we elect what we call add-on individuals who make up the body of the DC Democratic Party. We voted after much discussion over the course of months to get to a decision where we said the party is not going to support open primaries or ranked choice voting. Real quick, out of 89,000 plus people in Ward 7, 8,900, 10% of people voted in the DC Democratic primary. 10% voted. You talked about someone having, I believe in a popular vote. And the popular vote is you cast your vote for one person. At the end of the day, that's the winner. Talk about, okay, Wendell won over there in Ward 7 with, you said 27 or 25%. It was more 23%. I agree with that. That's what happened. He was a popular person. And he should win and he should go to the council. I'd love to see him pick up maybe Payne, who got 20%, or Ebony, who got 20%. But that's his choice as the popular individual out of 9,000 people who voted. Most people who are registered, not just in this enclave, but also in other enclaves, they are not elected by more than 51%. I think 51% is ideal. It's definitely a goal to aspire to, but to open up these individual political party groups to outside individuals, I think is the wrong measure. I think it's a slippery slope. I think we open ourselves up to some other stuff that when you start talking about that Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, man, that's 2 or 3 meetings that we need to have to open that whole 400 and some odd pages of documentation up and see all of the stuff that they support. For me, that's outside of trying to impress upon political organizations that they should open them doors up to other individuals who have pledged to nothing. Individuals who say, I'm not, for this, I'm not for that. I'm not a part of being a part of an organization that will sit down and make a decision to decide who will represent us as a group. That's what I see as most important, that individuals who are right there from a community, from a ward, from a city, from a state, they decide who represents them. And I think that we need to move more towards the popular vote and away from all these other mechanisms that create space for trickery. So that's like my major piece as it relates to these things. I could tell you a whole lot about the different things that I believe based upon, what I've been looking at, what I've been studying, what actually are some key things that really bother me. Kimon said one earlier. I don't think that it necessarily points to a low mental capacity. I think that the process is confusing for some people. And this is what I've heard. I think that the ranked choice piece, you know what I'm saying, will exhaust the ballot process. I think that it will cost the taxpayers more money down the road. I don't know a state, and I might be wrong. I said this earlier during an interview. I may very well be wrong, but I don't know of any locality where the institution of ranked choice voting has increased the voter turnout. I don't know a place where it does. So what are we trying to do? Are we just trying to get somebody who otherwise can't get himself or herself on the ballot to be looked at a general election? If we're going to have open elections and we do all these ranked choice stuff that's going to cost the taxpayer at the end, and it's not increasing voter turnout, something's wrong. Ranked choice voting will delay the process for getting to a final decision. And woe would be, just imagine that in the process of counting the ballots, the machine goes down, as they sometimes do. One of the individuals hits the wrong button. We have to start that all over again. When we can't find out what the exact issue is in the counting process, that's going to duplicate the process of counting, and it could cost billions of dollars to the taxpayers. And so these are things that I think we need to be real cognizant about as we begin to push these different initiatives. The city is getting lost. So I think that that's probably my time. I just want to finally say at the end here is that, this redistribution of voters votes after a vote in November, and then we have to come back and vote again after November, and then maybe after that to try to get to some magical goal of 51% of the people in this country do not vote. More than 51% in the District of Columbia.
You don't have to come back. You don't have to come back. That's not not the
case. Okay. There's not time for that yet.
Yeah, but the idea is that, if the goal is to get 51%, we don't have 51% of any one of our wards voting.
Okay.
When we look at the breakdown. So, I'll leave it there. I'll just say that I believe in the popular vote, and I don't think that we need to be tinkering with it, because there's too much room for what I call gerrymandering and misappropriations of votes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sue. We'll have a chance to go do another round. It seems like you two covered most of everything, and I am not for either. So the entire initiative 83, I'm not for. And I'm looking at some figures here. The Board of Elections requires approximately $1.2 million in fiscal year 2025 and 1.5 million over a 4-year financial plan. And everything's working okay now. Okay, Ballotpedia is a nonprofit, nonpartisan online political encyclopedia that covers federal, state, and local elections. It's founded in 2007 and is named in honor of Lucy Burns, who fought for women's rights to vote in 1916. 5 states, Alabama, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Oklahoma, passed laws banning the use of RCV in 2024, more than in any other year. No state had a law prohibiting the use of RCV before 2022, when Florida and Tennessee became the first states to adopt bans. Idaho, Montana, South Dakota joined them in 2023. So you see, the states that had it, I think they're seeing that it's not really working the way they expected, and they're banning it. In total, 45 bills introduced in 20 states this year would ban or repeal RCV, that's a ranked choice voting, nearly double the number from 2023 and 2022 combined. In all 3 years, bans and repeals were adopted at a higher rate than new authorizations. In other words, there have been more RCV bans adopted in the last 3 years than new authorization, despite half as many introduced bills. So I don't know why DC would want to jump on a bandwagon that's sinking. It's not working. There's a lot of things, like we had the right turn on red. That didn't work. They stopped that. Everything is not good for everybody. We're not a state. And I believe that if the first person who get the most votes, it could be one more, a percentage more, the person should win. I would hate to vote and name 5 people. My first one, Joe, next one, Jim, next one, Sue, whatever. And then my last choice is Bobby. I can't really stand Bobby, but since I had to pick 5 people, I'll just go ahead and vote for Bobby. Then they fool around and mess around, and next thing you know, Bobby is the winner. And I don't want that. I want whoever gets the most votes, period. Even if it's not my candidate, that's on us. We need to work harder for our candidates. Or the candidate needs to do more, do differently. I don't think we should rig it so that the least liked person that would win would win. I don't like that at all. And as far as the I think it's semi-open primaries.
Yeah.
No, if the independents, the non-parties, whatever they call themselves, if they want to run or do something in the primary, make that name, the independents, make them a party. It's too much work to make a party. So instead of making a party, they're going to jump in on the Republicans and the Democrats. And in DC, if we do that, the Democrats going to lose, because right now we're winning. Why would any Democrat, I don't care who he or she is, why would any Democrat go for that? I can see the statehood green or the Republicans or the independents, but to make it easier, the easiest thing to do is to fill out that short application and become a party member. And I don't think they should be allowed to vote in parties in the primary. They'll have to request a ballot. And when they request a ballot, from what I was told, when they request a ballot, they have to tell the Board of Election which party they want to vote in. To me, that's not a secret ballot anymore, because you're letting them know, I want to vote for a Democrat, I want to vote for a Republican. That's not good. Because if I choose to tell you who I'm going to vote for, that's on me. I don't think I should sign a piece of paper to let anyone know which party I'm voting for. So I think that is wrong. And the other thing in the RCV, I think if we did do the ranked choice voting, I believe we would have to get rid of those 2 set-aside seats for non-Democrats. Because everybody can vote everywhere, every time, all the time. We don't need to set aside seats. That would have to go. So in their initiative, they should have included that. If this passes, we'll get rid of the two set aside seats or affirmative action seats, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and for some reason, it seems like the world thinks that the Democrats should always yield. We shouldn't yield. We need to stay strong, stay together, and not yield to all these fly-by-night ideas. Let me see. I think that's all I have for right now. How many minutes I have left? A lot or a little bit? I'll
Got
stop here because I think I said what I
got
need to
5
say.
minutes.
Huh?
You got 5 minutes.
I got 5 more minutes. Okay, so now I'm gonna beat up on Philip Purnell, Freeman. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna mess with Philip. No, but sometimes people find themselves in a slope, and when they do that, they reach out to. It's just human nature. They reach out to something that they can grasp hold of to bring attention to themselves, or something that's so far from belief that everybody would pay attention to them, be it good, bad, or ugly. They'll pay attention. Oh, Sue said what? I don't believe she said that. And sometimes after Sue said what Sue said, if it goes into effect, Sue like, damn, I shouldn't have done that. I ain't know it's gonna turn out like this. So be careful what you wish for. Everything that glitters is not gold. We're not a state. We can't do what other people do, and it works. So I'm thinking we should leave both of them alone, vote no on Initiative 83, and just stick to what we have. The most votes win, regardless of how many more. The percentage doesn't matter because the wrong person may get up in there. And for this election coming up, I'm glad we didn't have it this year because it wouldn't have worked out for us. So that's it. I'll whatever time I have, we can go for the rebuttal. Timon, go ahead. Then Stuart, then me, and then we
Wait,
go
we
to
got
Teresa.
Sandra. Hold up. We got
Yeah,
Ari.
Ari Teresa, right?
No, 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 no,
All
no,
right, it's a wrap up.
no. Listen. He's a rapper upper. He's taking notes and he's smiling.
Oh,
After
So,
we do
hey,
the
Sandra.
rebuttal,
Hey,
uh,
Sandra.
huh?
So, Ari, I think can you in your closing, your legal closing, can you address, if you know of, the legal case that the Democrats tried to stop this? Are you familiar with that?
It's still pending.
It's still pending, Stuart?
Yes, it's still pending.
So if your Stewart could give us some background on that, or and any measure that happened within the last couple of months that Democrats, non-Democrats tried to do legally in court. Can you kind of inform us about that? But also, like I think Stewart and Sandra was talking about the party caucus process. So can you talk about that as well? So sorry, go ahead, Kamal. You can do the rebuttal.
uh, there was a couple of things that a couple of discrepancies I want to address. One, Stu was alluding to the insinuation was that independents or non party affiliate voters could put in their candidate. That's not the case. That's not what the open primaries is doing. Open primaries is just saying that anyone who's registered to vote can vote. That's it. Just like in the general election. And I understand why that seems unsettling to some people, but we got to understand that are we here to maintain the status quo, or are we trying to change a system that's not working for everybody? And the fact of the matter is that the plight of Black people, wherever you find us, in any city in this country, all of the problems are the same, whether it's GOP or Democratic, okay? And we need to understand that the Democratic Party is not necessarily all of the good guys. There are some bad players in the Democratic Party as well. So we cannot sit here and entertain the notion as if the GOP is the bad cops, and they are, and the Democratic Party is the good cops, and some of them are. But we have blue dog Democrats in place who are actually there to prevent anything progressive from happening. And we've seen them rear their ugly heads every time we have an opportunity to do something that changes the system, or at least challenges the status quo. Okay? So we are only saying, why not have it so more people can vote. I'm trying to understand, why is that such a threatening concept for more people to vote? Because either we agree with the Heritage Foundation in saying that they don't want more people to vote, that their power goes up when there's a lower voter turnout, there's a lower voter count, or we're saying that every vote should matter. And I just want to drive that point home. There's no nefarious angle in that, in simply having more people to vote. And 70% of the voters in DC are independents. And I'm telling you that the majority of those 70% independent voters in DC are progressive. This is not a right-wing conspiracy in Washington, D.C. All right. Okay. So I want to make that clear. And then on the ranked choice, you don't have to choose 5. You have the opportunity to choose 5, like when you had 9 people running in the Ward 7 race. But generally, only 3 or 4 candidates run, and you're only required to select your top 3. And 51% represents the majority. And if this is truly a democracy, the majority should rule, and we should be doing whatever we can to have a system that reflects the majority of the people that they're supposed to represent.
Okay, thank you, Kamon. Stuart?
I would say to Kamon, that's an ideal world, but one of the definite facts. Number one, I wasn't saying that you get to run your person. I said you get to vote, and I don't believe that anybody needs to vote in a Democratic primary who is not a Democrat. Agreed. I don't believe, and based upon what I understand, that the Republican Party does not want anybody to vote in a Republican primary who is not a Republican. That's what I was saying, to be clear. The other thing is this notion of 51. We do not have 51% of 700,000 plus people voting in the District of Columbia. We do not have 51% of the, I think it's, I want to say that it's.
Maybe if we gave them more choices.
Come on.
I was silent when you gave your rebuttal. I don't believe that across this city, that 51% of the Democrats in this city vote. I know it for a fact that they don't. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that 51% of Republicans vote in this city from the Republican population. We got a lot of people who are a part of these parties who don't actively participate in the primaries, but they vote in the general. And so a clear case is to look back at 2020, last presidential election cycle, and we will see that under 50% of the Democrats voted in the piece, but it was a popular vote piece. The same is true with Republicans, less than those who are on record as Republicans. So this whole notion of 51% of the populace voting, they don't vote. So we got to look at those who do vote. So we got to look at the 9,000 people who did vote. And from the 9,000 people who voted in Ward 7, they made a choice. And I only use that because it is the atypical situation for the conversation that we are having. That no one would have wanted the candidate who got 10% of that to be the next council member of Ward 7. I don't believe that. But that's what ranked choice voting would have led to, is a runoff between the top 4 candidates in that race, 2 of whom had 20% and 1 had 10%. I just don't follow the logic that it's better for the people of Ward 7 or any other ward for us to be in a process like that. The popular vote, we're trying to get rid of on a national level. We're trying to get rid of this whole notion of this electoral college.
So,
but we want to put something in place that kind of creates a smaller version of that. I think that's a slippery slope.
So Sandra,
yes.
A question for you, because Kamon mentioned something that struck a chord with me. He said that, are we here to maintain the status quo? And I remember you saying something earlier in the week that or even in this conversation, you were like, we're winning. So we should, as Democrats, we should maintain that status quo. But do you think, as a process, we should adopt a ranked choice voting process to prevent situations that we're dealing with in the war now, with potentially having to do a special election? And Stuart, you should chime in after Sandra, since you ran a campaign in this past election, as well as I did. um, I think it would be, as a Democrat, it would be a great process to kind of, deal with what we're dealing with now. But overall, Sandra, do you think we should maintain the status quo, like Kamon was saying?
If he wants to call it that and it's working for the Democrats, yes. Yes, we should maintain what we have. And I'm going to say it again. For some reason, the Democrats and people expect the Democrats to be yielding to any and everything that comes along that's sensible or nonsensible. Don't try anything new. If it's working for the Democrats, stick to what we know. If the Green Party, statehood Green Party, if the Republicans, if the Independents, if they can't get enough people in a party to put their people in place, and they have 2 seats set aside for them too, and they still can't get anybody in that seat, then something's wrong with them. They need to rethink what they're doing and not try to interfere with the Democrats. Right now, the Democrats in DC are winning. We are winning. We don't have representation, but that's okay because the Democrats are winning. And we're going to continue to win. And we don't need the RCV. We don't need the open primary. We don't need any of that. The Democrats need to stick with the Democrats, and we need to continue to win. So that's my position on that. So as far as the status quo, it's used as a bad word. In this case, it is not. It is a good word for the Democrats. Status quo as we go.
I got a bit of a yeah. Go ahead, Ron.
Stuart, so yes or no? Would you you and Sandra, so you guys answer this since you guys are Democrats. Would you accept, and then we move to Ari because it's 7:51. Would you accept this process, the ranked choice voting process within the democratic process, to deal with, internal issues that may arise, like we may potentially deal with in the ward on Horizon, in Ward 8? Like, would this be a great process policy since we didn't have this in place, as Democrats?
I'm going to say no. I think that we have a process that we can rely on to address the possible incapacity of the current council member. I think that's where we're leading with this piece. I think we have a process that will afford the residents of Ward 8 to horn in and focus on all of the would-be candidates that might want to fill that void. I think we have something called a special election that we would then have a couple of months to look at everybody who's seeking to represent us. And again, I would do as I did, right? In the most recent primary, I ran a candidate against the current council member. Most people know that. At the end of the primary, because I am a Democrat, because I stand on democratic principles,
we got behind the winner of the Democrat.
I then put out a statement saying that all of my support and energy now goes with the individual who won the Democratic primary. And that individual was the current council member. So that's where my allegiance has shifted to because of the process. I follow the process. And as it relates to what was said about, Democrats not being all good, and nobody's all good. None of us who are on here now, we all have some stuff in our eye. I'm not gonna start messing with your eye, trying to get your mess out your eye, and I ain't get the mess out my eye. I'm saying that I believe right now today that the best political organization that can and is set on a path to do things for the least of us is the Democratic Party. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some stuff that needs to be fixed. I'm not saying that there are not some members of the Democratic Party who might definitely be racist and and they not blue dogs. They
Seconds, 'cause we
red.
gotta
They
get Ari
red
next.
dogs. They red dogs, and I understand that. And so that's why I'm here. Help move and change that.
Okay, I don't need to expound on that. So, Stuart did good. Okay, Mr. Teresa, my buddy Ari, it's on you. You got like 3 hours to tell us what you have to say.
All right.
Well, not 3 hours,
I'm
but
gonna stay till the end. I'm gonna stay till the end.
go ahead, Ari. Thank you for
So,
summing up for us.
yeah, I'm just
Wait,
gonna,
hold up. And then we're
Those
going
that
to
just
the
joined us.
wait a minute, Ari, hold up. And then we're going to the public and raise your hands and try not to go over 2 minutes if you have something to say or a question. So
And for
after he
those,
finished, start raising your hand. All right, thanks, Teresa.
and for those that just joined us, Ari is a practicing attorney here in the District of Columbia and in the region. So that's why he's bringing us the legal scoop.
okay. So yeah, thanks for inviting me out and for this spirited debate and getting to hear everyone's perspective. Um, Now, I just want to be clear. So in terms of the people who just spoke, Sandra, Stewart, and Kimon, uh, is everybody against open primaries? Or Kimon, were you for that?
Come on, he's speaking to you. Yes or no? Shake your head.
Yeah, I was trying to be respectful when other people was talking, Miss Sandra, like I was requested to.
Yes or
Yeah,
no. All you have to do is say yes or no. Just yes or no.
it's just a 2 second nuance. I wish it was separate issues because it needs to
Okay.
be addressed separately. But yes, they're coupled. So yes, I'm for open primaries and more people voting. Yes, and I put an explanation in the chat just now.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
It
So
doesn't allow Republicans to vote. Only
No, you can't.
independent
No,
people
no,
do
you
it.
can't choose. You can't choose. Everybody. You said everybody.
No,
Not to
no,
interrupt you. Everybody. Go ahead. Go ahead, Teresa. He said everybody.
okay.
Everybody.
I mean, open
Green,
voting
purple,
means everybody.
blue, red. Everybody.
Okay.
You open up that door.
no. You not if you are
You
going
opening up
to
that door.
another party.
You opening up that door.
I
Go
just want to
ahead.
clear
No.
that is you have you
Go ahead, Teresa.
if you're not assigned to a party, you can vote in an open primary. I just want
You
to put it
opening that
out there.
door. You
A
opening that
Republican
door.
can't vote in a Democratic primary
You
and vice
opening
versa.
that. You opening that door. Go ahead, Teresa.
Is that how I-83 is structured?
No, that's not true. That's not true. If it's
That is
open,
true,
it's
Sandra.
open.
I
I,
didn't say
I'm
that.
I'm
If it's,
clarifying the issue. That's why
it's
I said
not
it was
true though,
nuanced.
come on.
I
Let's
put it
do
in
it.
the chat.
Okay.
You it's
Okay.
Go ahead. Let them know.
undeclared,
Okay,
it's
stop. Come on. Come
unaffiliated
on.
voters.
Come on. Stop. Stop.
I just
Okay.
Go
want to
ahead,
clear.
Teresa.
Okay.
Stuart, come on. Me. All
All
three.
right. All right.
All three
So
of us gonna shut up. Go ahead, Teresa.
So what I'm hearing, the differing opinions, particularly as it relates to RCV, what it seems like is that there's Sandra and Stewart are of the perspective that, hey, like if you win a majority, not a majority, but if you win the most votes in your election, then you should win. It doesn't matter if that's 25%, 6%, 70%, whatever that percentage is, you were the candidate, the individual that was selected, so you should win. And so what I'm hearing on the opposing side from Kimon is that it shouldn't necessarily be about the individual per se, but the prevailing sentiment. So if the prevailing sentiment is that the incumbent is not, a majority of people don't want the incumbent, but and would rather have two or three. That if if numbers two or three make up 51% of the vote after you get rid of three, and then you could put two in, then that's what should happen because of the prevailing sentiment against whoever's the incumbent. Um, and so I think that it's an interesting kind of debate here about what should be in terms of RCV. Now, in terms of the open primaries, I think Stewart and Sandra were both against open primaries primarily because when it comes to open primaries, if you're not a Democrat, you shouldn't have say in Democrat affairs, namely who their nominee is. Stewart, uh, on the opposing side, Camone took issue with status quo and how this kind of just facilitates kind of the same things that we've been seeing in our elections. And then, in the rebuttal, it was said, well, Democrats are winning status quo, so why change status quo? But I think both sides of this debate agree that this isn't necessarily something that should have been paired together. I know Stewart also had mentioned an issue when it comes to the RCV, and he said that it's a slippery slope. Some people are confused by it, and it's not a reflection of their intelligence. It's just a confusing thing that's happening. Camone took exception to that, saying that it wasn't necessarily a confusing process, and even if it was, it's something that people could and should learn. And it was also raised that ranked choice voting does not increase voter turnout, which is an issue. And that also some jurisdictions that had signed up for RCV are now banning RCV.
Yeah.
So these are all the kind of things that are that's being debated right now. I know personally, and this conversation has kind of made me think more about the issue. I don't even if there was no confusion and there was perfect clarity about the process. I think the fact that I think you can't get around this issue of voter turnout and that it reflects a lack of engagement. And so for me, when it comes to the RCV portion, even if people perfectly understood it, and the engagement is how it is, you're asking people to like go from voting for one candidate to being educated about 5 candidates. And I don't like with engagement as it is, like how much do those second and third and fourth and fifth votes even mean? Are people just doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo? Are others running computer algorithms with like nonprofit money? And how does that, what are the implications for the electorate when that's happening? And so I think Stewart raised that important point. What does this all mean? It's kind of leaving open room for shenanigans and stuff like that. So food for thought. I don't know if the panelists want to go back to speaking, if Camone wants to get a chance to speak again, or if this is going to the general public. But thank you. That's pretty much my summation.
Thank you, sir. We're gonna go to Wanda Lockridge. She had a hand up. Anybody else, if you want to say something, please raise your hand. Wanda?
Yes, good evening, everyone. And thank you for this platform this evening. So I'm Wanda Lockridge. I'm a Ward 8 committee woman on the DC Democratic State Committee. I serve with Stu Anderson in that capacity. And I want to just lend my voice to a strong no to I-83. And for a couple of reasons. One, this country, first of all, was created on a one person, one vote, not a one vote, not a one person, 3 vote. And so when we talk about ranked choice voting, we're talking about voting up to 5 people. I understand that you don't have to do all of that. But what says about the turnout? If we really are looking at turnout, then maybe we should be having another kind of conversation like voting by apps. And that's another conversation I won't get into this evening. Everyone has a telephone now. Everyone has an app. If you really want to talk about turnout with young people, that's what we talk about. In terms of, and I heard you come on, I love you dearly, first of all, but let me just say that everyone has a chance to vote. Everyone, you put in the chat that why we do not want everyone to vote. We do. That's why you have a general election. You can vote in the general election. If you decide that you do not believe in the party and you more issue oriented, then that's your place. That's the place where you vote in the independent. If you believe in the process of a Republican or Democrat, then vote in that. It's just like coming into your house saying, you want someone to sit on the couch and they want to sit on your table. You can't let anyone come in your house and just do anything. And so I'm a strong no on both that for those reasons. And thank you for allowing me to speak.
Miss Lockridge, it's Ronald.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you. So I want to say thank you so much because I heard, if it's true or not, I heard that you voted no when they wanted to come to the executive committee to explain their platform and their reasons why we should be supporting it. So thank you for holding up the standard. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Hey, Jock, and then Robbie. Jock. Hi, Jock.
Hello, dear. How are you doing, dear?
I'm great.
Good, good. I have a question, but I'm gonna kind of have a precept to it. The simple fact is, I want people to kind of look at progressive groups like DC for Democracy and other progressive groups that we have throughout the city, who have had a history of not being able to get their candidates elected citywide. And for me, I-83 is like a way for the progressive group to infuse their agenda, which hasn't sold specifically around to Black folks, a lot of a progressive agenda, to infuse them with independence in hopes that that will allow them to get their candidates elected. Because now you're going to be infused with other, not just Democrats, moderate Democrats or anything like that, but now you'll have more people, and independents tend to be more progressive. And, we have to consider race in this, white, to infuse themselves into this particular election. So for me, that's what I-83 seems like. But I want to ask the question to Kimon, does he see it that way? I believe because he identified kind of like as a progressive.
I have the floor, Ms. Sandra.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. My permission for my elders to speak. I love you too, Ms. Wanda. There's nothing you can do about it. Yes. But it sounds like you're using progressive like a pejorative, Brother Jock. I was like, is there something wrong with being progressive?
It depends on the of how we're defining progressive. For me, a lot of times, progressive policies that I've seen has not really truly been for the Black community, and that's just me. So
okay,
if I'm using it that way and you're interpreting it that way, yeah.
Is there an example that you're referring to, or is that just in general?
It's just in general. I just don't think African American.
Soda tax bill. The soda tax. They wanted to charge us 5 cents per ounce of sugar in the soda. DC Greens, Dreaming Out Loud, a couple other folks, and we had to shut them down. That was based
okay.
on
I don't want to lose a little bit of support that I have for my.
Okay, go right ahead. I do want to hear your answer.
I'm not going to defend sugar consumption in the Black community. No, I'm not. Okay,
hey, Kimon, I'm with you, Kimon. I led the charge.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. That's right. Stewart is on.
So just because you don't like it, don't mean it ain't the right thing to do.
But I do want to get back to the progressives and like groups like DC for Democracy. When they put forth a candidate, they have not been. A lot of the policies that they push have not really been the focus or the priority of the Black communities. Hence, they've had a hard time electing candidates statewide, people that they have put forth, and they've even acknowledged this in their own meetings.
Okay, I got you now, Jack. I got a clear understanding, and I just want to say again that I really appreciate this dialogue and this opportunity. This is the way grown folks should be getting down. This shows maturity in our community, and I genuinely like everybody on this call, and I'm just saying it for the few votes that I lost by I was representing myself. Okay, let's really get to the nitty-gritty of the issue here, guys. In terms of the status quo, I know That's a pejorative for me, and it's not so on Ms. Sandra's part. But we do recognize that in this capitalist society, in this winner-take-all society, that it is the big bank that takes little bank. Who has the most lawn signs? Who has the biggest signs? Who raised the most money? Who spent the most money? Those are generally the dictates on who wins. But a ranked choice system gives you a democratic, more democracy, a democratic inclusion for somebody who doesn't necessarily have the most money, but has the best progressive ideas. And
I'm sorry, Kimon, I disagree with you there because we do public financing. We do public financing now. So that doesn't carry weight.
No, public financing still just doubles what you raise.
Wait a minute, stop. Everybody stop. Come on, stop.
I mean, come on there. Let's be real.
Okay, now. One person at a time. Go ahead, come on. Finish up what you're saying, and then we're going back to John.
The public financing, which is not available to my office, by the way, is only available for the local offices.
Right.
It only matches what you raise. Okay, so you're still back to what you were able to garner, and this is a way to democratize that, because we are looking. Are we seriously trying to defend the sorry state that DC is in? Do I need to run down the list on all the lists that we on the top of in the country? Because clearly, this whole democratic controlled city has produced these sad results. We should be talking about how can we improve the system rather than defend the system. And I'm trying to get everyone to see this as an opportunity to challenge the system.
Okay. Wait a minute, Jock.
Hold on,
Jock. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Sandra.
Yes.
To Kamon's point, has a little guy ever beat a big guy?
Yes.
Stuart pointed out, yeah.
How many times have lightning struck?
No, stop. Wait, stop. Let Jock. Go ahead, Jock.
Okay, so let's just use the election 4 years ago in 2020 when at the independent race. So let's just use that particular one where we had 23, 25 candidates, right? All had public financing. Most of them could not have a message that would resonate. The DC for Democracy pushed a particular candidate, even over some African Americans who had worked very closely with them, and none of their messages resonated. And we ended up spending literally millions of dollars on candidates, not that they couldn't raise money because they didn't have a network, because their message did not resonate. So us as taxpayers had to pay for all these candidates who had no message, who could not resonate with anybody, but we spent millions of dollars for them to have a candidacy. That's why I'm just not feeling this right now. Just not.
We hit both sides, but I wanted to make a point to Kimon's point. Has a little guy ever beaten a big guy? Yeah, Stewart actually led the charge second time around when Trayon beat LaRuby with just like I think $11,000 or $13,000. So
and no public finance.
But what?
And no public financing.
No public financing. I think it was only $11,000 or $13,000 that Trayon raised to beat LaRuby. But we got to go to Commissioner Woodland because she's been waiting.
Thanks, John.
Oh, hello, everybody. Oh, this is a very interesting conversation here. It's getting a little fiery, I see. Well, I just wanted to add that I think I stand with the majority of the people on the call when I say no. I do think that this is a terrible idea. And I do believe that, when it comes to, I'm hearing about the state of our city right now, which is troublesome. I agree. But I don't believe that the state of our city has so much to do with the Democratic Party more than it has to do with the different individuals you choose to be your leaders, right? I feel like our city can get out of the slump that we're in, and it's going to have to take some work for us to do that, right? But I do believe that our Democratic Party needs to stay separate, and individuals who want to vote for a Democrat need to be a Democrat in order to do that. We can't, we'll be fools if we sat on this call and said that we don't know about the agenda. that is headed our way with Agenda 2025. I did read through that. And the individuals who will suffer more is going to be the African American people. DC right now is currently under threat of losing our home rule, and we can't allow that to happen. Now, when DC is a Democratic place, always have been, and there has never been our council members have pretty much been all Democratic. I think we've only had two Republican at large members in history.
No,
So
it's more.
it's been more? Okay.
At large.
At large?
Yes.
Okay.
And then one council member, right?
Go ahead, Robbie.
Okay, but I just wanted to say that I stand with everyone else on the call when they say no, that we do not need to have the ranked choice voting here in Washington, D.C. I think that will put us in a very dangerous situation, especially when it comes to Republicans coming in and just taking over our city, and what that means for people of color, and the things that we are already going through here just to fight for the little bit that we have. So I yield. Thank you.
Stuart?
So
No, wait a minute. No, that's Brianna?
yeah,
Brianna.
go to Brianna. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Bree. I am a math tutor and a data scientist. So I teach young girls. I'm a volunteer with Black Girls Code. So I teach young girls how to
Okay,
code.
break it down for the numbers. Okay.
Yes, doing robotics with the kids. And I also do a food drive every Sunday. I glean food from the farmers market that would otherwise go to waste and redistribute it for free at the Edgewood Community Farm. So if you know folks who would like some free, fresh, delicious produce, go to the Edgewood Community Farm from 3:30 to 5 most Sundays.
Okay, can you come to the subject, please?
I wanted to say, I just want to let folks know you can get food there. And I also want to say, because it's all connected, I'm voting yes for Initiative 83 because I do believe that, at least from when I talk to folks, especially my friends, they'd feel like they're not being included in the process. And so this is about changing the system to improve it. It's not to say, oh, the Democrats are going to lose everything. It's more like, how can we have stronger Democrats? I'm a Democrat. I want to see candidates winning with over 51% of the vote, I think, as Kimon put it. Let's get to 51. DC statehood, 51% of the vote. And I believe in that. And so I just wanted to voice my opinion. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
No, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. Thank you.
So, Brianna, let me ask you this before you go. You still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, so what is stopping you from encouraging or educating Democrats or Republicans to vote more? Why would you have to bring in this separate group of people in order to enhance the Democrat? Who said they're going to vote for a Democrat? We don't know that.
Yeah. Well, when I talk to especially young folks to educate them on why it's important to vote and why they should vote Democrat, a lot of young folks are just apathetic to the system. They feel like, oh, the person who I voted for, they won and they're still not doing what we need for this city. And so it really is actually very hard to tell a young person to just vote when they feel like the system is not really working as it should. And so what I say then is, what if we could change the game? And I think, that's more appealing. And I do think that could increase voter turnout because people can see that, hey, if the person who I feel like is really my champion and cannot get a majority of the vote, then maybe I can say okay to someone who I think could still do a good job representing me if I want. Okay. And so I think a lot of young people are much more interested in something that's a bit bolder that makes politicians more accountable. That's at least what I hear. Thank you.
Well, we're going to go to Sue. You sound like Sue I was just talking about a minute ago. Sue want all the attention because we ain't winning, so let me go do something different so I can get all this attention. But thank you, Brianna. I'm messing with you. But go ahead, Stuart.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Brianna. My point earlier was that there have been some Herculean tasks taken on in this city in a number of different races, and oftentimes they go unnoticed. They go unnoticed when someone gets close to unseating someone who's been in a position for years. You don't really see it unless you're somebody like a Kimon or myself or, Ron and a few others, Rob, who are looking at numbers, who are looking at the number of people who are voting, right? And how they are voting. When you don't look at it closely, you don't see the Herculean efforts that are taking place. I personally believe that the public financing piece needs to be repealed. I just do.
Yeah.
I think it's a waste of taxpayers' money. And
I second that.
and the third and the other side of it is I don't want taxpayers who it's some people in our city who can afford a tax increase. It's not going to hurt them. But there are so many of us, particularly people of that 85,000 that I represent, right? And that 85,000 plus over in Ward 7, most of us, we can't afford a tax increase. But there's some people who can. And so they push this agenda knowing that it's going to cost an additional $1.2 million in this election, and for something beyond. They know that this is going to hurt the backs of some of the people we represent, Kimon. That's how I look at it. I'm looking at who's affected by this thing and how are they affected by this thing. This idea, albeit a progressive great idea, is a bad idea for people who I walk past every day. That's just my last 2 cents.
Okay. Any more questions from the audience? Any more? Anybody? You sure? Anybody? Robert King, you have anything to say? Holly Muhammad?
Nene?
Linwood Johnson? Jackie Kinlow? Linda Lynch?
Yes,
Okay.
hi. Unfortunately, the chat is disabled.
No, we're
but
not
I
doing
just
chat.
think-
Yeah, just raise the
Yeah,
raise
but
your
I
hand.
just want to, I was on the fence about this. I was trying, one of my questions, and then talking to some of my friends, we were concerned that the two issues came under one vote, that there should have been two separate items for you to vote on. But I want to thank everyone for all of the comments. This is very, very good. I want to go back to Mr. Teresa. Thank you so much for your summary. I feel that we should spend more time looking at why we have a low turnout throughout the city. And I like what the young lady said, we really do need to talk about getting better candidates to run and really look at voter engagement. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. But thank you so much. This has been exceptional. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Robert
Yeah.
King, anything?
Yeah, I just came to come off another meeting dealing with the Harris campaign. Stuart may have mentioned this.
The man himself.
How you doing? We're in the appeals court on Wednesday at 9:30 regarding the initiative 83.
Oh, yes. Man, can you explain that to us?
Wait a minute, go ahead. Let Robert finish.
Yeah, I forgot to speak on that, but go, King.
Robert.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Robert.
We can.
Yeah, each side has 15 minutes, and hopefully our prayers need to be with Johnny. You know, our argument has always been that the Constitution and the Home Rule Charter basically provides for Democrats, Republicans, I think, statehood and the Libertarian Party, certainly not not independents. So stay tuned for that argument because, we don't have a Supreme Court. So if we lose that first round, this is by 3 justices in the appeals court, but not a jury. If we lose the first round, we do have an opportunity to do what is called an en banc hearing, and that would be a hearing for all 9 justices. So that's going to be a powerful event for us as we move forward in terms of trying to say that this violates the Home Rule Charter and our Constitution. Secondly, I do believe that we have the number of votes to deny funding. And Stuart is good at this, and we all have to come together right after this is over and make sure that we have the 7 votes on the council because it cannot go forward without appropriation. You saw in the paper the other day that the mayor's opposed to it, and so is Phil Menison, Jay Neese, and Robert White. So I think we're at 7 votes, but we just got to make sure we don't lose any of the 7 votes, because if we get 7 of the 13, no matter what happens on the 5th election day, it still requires some funding. The other thing I want Stuart to look at, some of you may have saw the ballot. I've tried to reach out to Anita Barnes because she has oversight over the Board of Election. And Sandra, since you fight a brick, so we need to look at that ballot. The ballot that we get in the mail is not consistent with the language that was voted on by the Board of Election. If you notice, the ballot that everybody's getting in the mail leads off with ranked choice voting.
Right.
It leads off with ranked choice voting. It's not ranked choice voting first. It's the semi-open primaries, which will allow 88,000 independents to vote in our primary. And of course, we have same-day registration, so anybody could vote on the same day.
Yeah.
Also, we have that non-citizen legislation that was passed by the council, meaning if you're in the Chinese embassy and you don't have a voting back home, you can vote in the District of Columbia now. Anybody who can prove that they've been here for 30 days under the non-citizens will be able to vote. And of course, as I said, I think the Board of Election intentionally put ranked choice voting because most folks do not know much about semi-closed primaries, but everybody have heard something about this most complex issue of ranked choice voting. So they put that, if you look at your ballot, it opens up with that, and then it mentions that, and then it goes into semi-closed primaries. If semi-closed primaries, and whoever put it together did us a favor, because we were struggling with ranked choice voting. I mean, we were really struggling because 7 council members initially had supported ranked choice voting. They didn't have enough 9 votes to override the mayor's veto. That's how we got to the initiative. 5 of the council members were Democrats who co-sponsored, not just waited for us to come and testify. Co-sponsor men is they simply said that I feel strong about ranked choice voting, that I want to co-sponsor it. But they couldn't override the mayor's veto. That's why you ended up with this initiative out there before the voters. They collected 40,000 signatures, and maybe half of those 25 or 30% were Democrats. So we have to look at that ballot to see what the board has done, because they have not done any justice to us at all, because the 3 board members come from 3 census tracts. The chairman and 2 other board members come out of Ward 3. Boggs is on hold because Anita Barnes had called me, because when she was going to mark him up for a second term, he admitted that he was predisposed and said that he supported ranked choice voting. So Anita Barnes refused to mark him up. He's sitting on the board right now until we can get a replacement. I had, to the Ward 5 Leadership Council, I had recommended to Anita's committee that we expand the board from 3 to 5, and the board members should come out of Ward 7, 8, and 5.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that will require a home rule charter, a change. But Kevin Chavis, who's on Anita Barnes' staff, said we might be able to put that in the federal budget, because the Board of Elections, since the home rule charter, nothing has changed there. I mean, can you imagine, since the home rule charter, the Board of Elections has been an independent agency, and one arm don't know what the other arm is doing, because you got fair elections operated by one person, and you got Monica Evans doing the board, and each report to the board separately, and you had 3 board members, including the Attorney General, when he was running already on the rapid fire questions, said he supported ranked choice voting. So we got a problem with that. So I'm just saying, please look at the ballot, and I've tried to urgently. I've asked Nita Barnes, look at the language. The language says semi-closed primaries, if enacted, will result to ranked choice voting. But what they've done, they switched it and said ranked choice voting first.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Robert.
I just want to say,
hold on. This is how it's going. We're going to do Ninite, Stewart, and then Ron's going to end this up. It sounds good, Ron?
Yep.
Nene Tay, Stewart, then Ron, then we finish. Okay, go ahead, Nene Tay.
I'm not gonna be long, but I appreciate you all. I mean, this was really interesting because I am yes for 83 because I feel like voters get suppressed and voices get suppressed, but also I want to acknowledge I heard you all. So I'm open for more dialogue for me to like push to the other side. But also I feel like 83 yes was suppressed because y'all had more of the 83 no to give their voice. And Kamon was a lonely fighter up here to give more information on that. But shout out to you all. Thank y'all for this. And I digress, y'all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Nene Tay. And before we go to Stewart, Nene Tay, the people who were so active on Facebook about being for the Initiative 83, they were afraid to come on this. So we tried. Go ahead, Stewart.
Yeah, and so I wanted to also say thank you, Bob, for coming on and telling us about that. But I want y'all to know that there are actually two lawsuits. All right, there are two different lawsuits that are pending in court, and I personally I wouldn't, because they're pending, say much about them, except for I believe that both positions are valid positions. Definitely, we got to be mindful about how information is presented to us, because the way in which that ballot looks, as King has said, it dictates something. If you think back to all the ballots when you have personally voted, I'm talking to each one of you who are on now, right? When you think back to it, the initiatives were further down the ballot somewhere. See, when you put something on top, when it's the first thing you see, in your mind registers that as being of utmost importance. That's just something I learned in political science class at Georgetown University. I just wanted to make that point clear. Thank you so much.
Hey, Ron.
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas has his hands. Thomas, you have something short to say?
Go ahead, Mr. Bird.
Go ahead.
I'll be very brief. I just want to say, if you look at the level of homelessness that affects our people, look at the number of dropouts that affects our people, look at the crime rate that affects our people. There's a correlation between the three that's correlated with why people don't vote. There's a common denominator we need as a community to understand what that is and fix that. Because as a native Washingtonian, open primaries, ranked choice is not the way to go. You know, that's just putting a Band-Aid on cancer. We need to get to the root cause. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank
Ron,
you.
close us out.
Listen.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Ron.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. We appreciate it. And for the 90 seconds, since Kamon's the lone one, I'll let him say the last word, and he can close us out.
Thank you. And I thank you for this civil dialogue. And to my brother Stu, I put it in the chat, but I was saying that my name. Okay, my name was on top of the ballot. I'm quite certain that Eleanor Holmes Norton is not concerned about that whatsoever. Okay.
I'm gonna call you.
Here's the thing with Black people, and people in general, I should say, we are so clear on what we are against, but we sometimes not as clear on what we should be for. And I think that we are all for having a more inclusive, representative city that has more equity and has better housing, better public safety, better health, and addressing these issues that's been ignored for far too long under our solely democratic establishment arrangement. So why are we wrestling with the undeclared, not the Republicans, the undeclared independent voters from having some say in selecting the candidates? Because in the current situation, our elections are determined in June. So having a general open primary in November doesn't change anything in DC. I'm trying to do my part to challenge that, and I hope that you guys will be open to having the vision to see something different to move us forward. okay? And this is not the Heritage Foundation talking. So I want y'all to look at who's funding who and who's doing what. And those 10 states that have banned ranked choice voting hadn't implemented ranked choice voting. They prevented from actually coming in. So it wasn't something that was proved, and those are GOP controlled states. So I want to thank everybody for joining in. I want to thank everybody for being civil. I want to thank the organizers here, my brother Stu and Ari, all of you guys.
So thank you. And again, if you want to vote in the primary, join the party. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Join the party.